What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, and the NBA gods have blessed us. We actually have some stuff to talk about today that's a little bit related to the Celtics, so excited to get into it. If it's your first time tuning in to the Celtics Daily here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe. I also learned about this new thing on mobile, Hype, so forget liking the stream. Go give the stream a hype. Go give the video hype mode. I still don't know what it is, but apparently it's good for the algorithm, so go ahead and get that done. All right, enough of that crap. Let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit more about what went down yesterday in that Pablo Torre reporting, because it seems to be just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm very curious to see if this impacts some other teams. So if you missed yesterday's video, go check it out, but I'll give you a quick little summary. Basically, they did some cap circumventing, which sounds scarier or more intense than it is, but what they did was they were able to re-sign Kawhi Leonard for a cheaper number, basically because they said, wink, wink, nod, nod, Kawhi, we're going to give you $28 million to not do a damn thing, and nobody's going to know anything about it until this weird sponsorship that they had, or this brand deal that they had, the company turned out to be fraudulent. It went under. Now they've done some reporting, and we're able to sort of tie it back to the Clippers, to Steve Ballmer, and the tie-in is a little bizarre. Now, the NBA and the Clippers both have since responded to this reporting, which that's how you know it's at least there's at least some fire behind this smoke, right? Because otherwise they probably wouldn't have said anything. So let's first get to the NBA's response. I believe it was somebody named Mike Bass. Yes, NBA spokesman Mike Bass came out yesterday afternoon around 4 p.m. Eastern and said, "We are aware of this morning's media report regarding the Clippers and are commencing an investigation." Very funny to have a response that said, "We just saw an investigation. We listened to the podcast about said investigation. So you know what? We're also going to do an investigation." But that was the first update. And then the Clippers came out and they had a big response to this. And I'll explain why we're talking as much about this, because I do think this is important league-wide for the future. So here we go. This is the Clippers' response. "Neither the Clippers nor Steve Ballmer circumvented the salary cap. The notion that Steve invested in Aspiration, that was the fraudulent company, in order to funnel money to Kawhi Leonard is absurd. Steve invested because Aspiration's co-founders presented themselves as committed to doing right by their customers while protecting the environment. After a long campaign of market manipulation which defrauded not only Steve Ballmer, but numerous other investors in sports teams, Aspiration filed for bankruptcy. Co-founder," all right, blah, blah, blah. Let's get through that stuff. Next phrase. "There is nothing unusual or untoward about team sponsors doing endorsement deals with players on the same team. Neither Steve nor the Clippers organization had any oversight," keyword oversight, "of Kawhi's independent endorsement agreement with Aspiration. To say otherwise is flat out wrong. Clippers take NBA compliance extremely seriously, fully respect the league's rules, and welcome to investigate. The Clippers will also continue to cooperate with law enforcement in its investigation into Aspiration's blatant fraudulent activity." So, okay, if this is the case, then hey, maybe it is just an oversight, which I think is a very curious word to use, because if you remember, and I think we mentioned it yesterday, and if you listen to the Pablo Torre podcast, they went out and said initially their response was that they categorically, or that all of this stuff was provably false. So Pablo actually responded to this comment, said, I obviously stand by our reporting, 3,000 pages of documents and 7 sources inside Aspiration. 2 questions about the Clippers statement, the one we just read. What does the word oversight mean, and where did the phrase provably false go? So clearly a lot to still unfold here in this situation, but I bring this up because it is super important, because if this is proven to be the case, I mean, this will be a league-shaking thing. We don't see this happen a lot, and Adam Silver was on record saying he considers this cap circumventing a cardinal sin. And the reason it becomes so important is because you will hear, especially small market teams, right? The Memphis Grizzlies, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Oklahoma City Thunder, all of these teams that don't have they're either not in a tax-free location. Shout out the states of Texas, Arizona, and Florida. I'm sure I'm missing another one as well. or they're not in one of like the coastal cities that people are excited to be in, whether it's New York, LA, Boston. I can't believe I just threw Boston in there. Boston never gets free agents, or Miami. And so like this levels the playing field. So it also means like you can't just be the richest guy and buy all the things, right? Otherwise, we'd still have Tatum, Brown, Holiday, Porzingis. Like it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. We just have the biggest bag and we can spend all the money we want. So if you're able to get around the rules here, it gives you more flexibility to do some things, and it's just an unfair advantage. And if Silver really does drop the hammer on something like this, I mean, the one other thing I didn't like point out about the time this happened before with the Minnesota Timberwolves back in the day with Joe Smith, right? So Joe Smith, they ended up doing some cap circumventing. They got caught. They lost 5 first-round picks. And then Joe Smith had a choice. He could either, because his contract is basically null and void with the Timberwolves, he could either sit out for a full season or he could just go to another team. You have to imagine, and this is worse. This is way more money. It was with one of the most sought after NBA free agents in recent NBA history. The only other name I could throw up there is when Kevin Durant left the Golden State Warriors, right? But Kawhi Leonard was fresh off of an NBA title with the Toronto Raptors when he was being pursued by the Los Angeles Clippers. Everybody thought he was going to the Lakers or staying with Toronto, and then bang, all of a sudden he shows up in the Clippers. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. And Ballmer, this is like the 3rd time he's been investigated for something like this. DeAndre Jordan was out there getting paid like $250,000 for some sort of car dealership thing. I did not look into that, but they were found responsible in that situation. Then they were investigated in 2019 for a second time with Kawhi's initial signing with the Clippers. And this will be their 3rd investigation. So again, this seems like it could be a pretty big deal. You could see Kawhi Leonard not playing basketball, which insert joke here. You can see Kawhi Leonard having to go to a different team. And then if you're a different team getting Kawhi Leonard, obviously you're not going to pay him the big money. Like, what team is going to drop a huge bag on him, knowing that he doesn't have the options that he had with the Clippers? And then the Clippers would just be sent into oblivion. They'd lose so many first-round picks. So this is like a really big deal. But this is also a big deal because now all of a sudden the magnifying glasses come out and we start saying, hey, did this happen elsewhere? Mark Cuban, former owner of the Dallas Mavericks, he was actually going back and forth on Twitter with Pablo Torre yesterday, and now it looks like Cuban might actually go on the Pablo Torre show. And you're not going to believe this, but Cuban took the billionaire side on this. Shout out the Billionaire Club. But Mark Cuban, famous example we mentioned yesterday about Dirk Nowitzki, who went from making $22 million a season in his prime, fresh off a title, dropping down to like $5 or $6 million a year. So he saved, I believe, Nowitzki left $150 million in his career total on the table, taking a team-friendly deal. I mean, listen, I don't want to go to Boston. He had to talk about this, but Tommy Brady, kid, right? Remember, we mentioned that yesterday. Tom Brady took all these deals, all these team-friendly deals for such a long time. And, you know, Bill was, well, he was married to Giselle. Giselle's got so much money. Oh, we want to buy some receivers. Yeah, sure. But if they ever found out, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, something was going on, let's do a more recent example. Bing bong, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson could have gotten so much more money from the Dallas Mavericks, somehow ends up in New York, and there's some like conversation as to why that happened. Shout out Daddy Rick Brunson, who is on the coaching staff. And then when he signs this big extension, he leaves so much money on the table. And Pablo even kind of alluded to that on the Dan Patrick show yesterday, that maybe that's going to be something else he looks into. So now, again, I'm fascinated to learn how many teams were involved, or like how many times is this happening? Is this super common and we just haven't been aware of it, or are there just like certain situations where this goes down? And if that's the case, like, I saw a lot of jokes on Twitter yesterday, and I get it. I get the perspective here where they're like, hey, I want my owner doing this. I want my owner out there just trying to, grease the wheels a little bit so we can get our guys, right? And yeah, that sounds nice until you lose your next 5 first-round picks. If we found out they did something like that with Jason Tatum, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, Tatum, you can't play next year, which is already happening. You can't play next year, or you can play and go get paid for another team. It's crazy, man. It is crazy. And I know, again, it's the dead time of the NBA offseason. We're waiting for everybody to come back and get into practice and get, real updates. So I can see why this might feel a little more sensationalized than it is. But I tell you what, this came out early morning yesterday. It took the Clippers a whole ass day to have a response to this. It took the NBA a whole ass day to make a response to this. And I promise you, if it was not legit, Clippers would be like, hey, they'd come out an hour later. Hey, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. I'm not worried about it. Like, we don't even have to respond to this. NBA, same thing. They would have been like, we've already investigated this. We good. Now, I think this is going to be a real thing that we're going to be talking about. Also, Pablo Torre, like, he rarely, puts this out here and is wrong. We saw what he did to the NFLPA. If you're not familiar with that, exposed the players union in the NFL of their leadership, and people lost their jobs and are now being federally investigated. He took 7 months of reporting. I promise you, there's got to be at least a little fire here. At least a little fire. Anyways, that's it on the Clippers. We did 10 whole minutes. Hell yes. Okay, Cam Thomas, the first of the restricted free agents to sign. And I'm going to throw this out there because, listen, man, if you told me, because this is the deal, 1 year, $6 million qualifying offer. I am not a Cam Thomas guy. I'm not. I feel like he is, at best, a bench guy on a very good team, right? Like, if you just came in, do some bench stuff for us, just come in. If you're hot, we'll let you stay in the game. Be like a little Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, do that. I mean, Jamal Crawford I like better, but last season, Cam averaged 24, 3 and 3, shot 43% from the field, 35% from 3, 88% from the line. Again, was not able to play. He only played 25 games because, one, he got dinged up, but then two, the Nets were like, hey, we want to suck on purpose. So Cam Thomas, you're not going to play too much. We've seen him get hot, though, right? The year before, he played 66 games. Played 66 games the year before. Averaged 22 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists per game again. So, I do think he's a 20-point scorer. And I'm not saying the Celtics should go get him, but, man, 1 year, $6 million is nuts. And now I wonder if this is the first domino to fall, and we see all of these restricted free agents take these qualifying offers, like Josh Giddey maybe takes a cheap deal, Kuminga, and then Quentin Grimes, just so they can hit free agency sooner. And I think that's the calculus that they were making, right? They're like, hey, listen, we're not going to, maybe I can sign a 3 years, $22 million deal or something like that. That's garbage. That's garbage for what Cam Thomas thinks he should be getting. He knows that teams are going to have more flexibility next year. So I wonder if we see that. And if we do see that, are those teams going to be incentivized to trade these guys mid-year? Because, that is if this is a expiring deal, right? It's just 1 year. And you're like, hey, man, we get a shot at this. Let's give up some assets. Let's get a cheap Cam Thomas and see what happens, or a cheap Josh Giddey and see what happens. So I do think that's something to keep in mind as we get going. I imagine we see the rest of them fall relatively soon in the next week or so, which then would mean Big Al Horford, will finally find a home for him. Also, Ben Simmons came out and said he's thinking about stepping away from basketball. I know all of you guys were very, very excited about Ben Simmons and the potential of him coming to the Boston Celtics. I don't listen, man, it's September 4th and he still hadn't signed. So that's you're about to get dumped and you're like, yeah, you actually, I'm breaking up with you. That's kind of what it felt like Ben Simmons was doing there. I know the Knicks had shown some interest. The Celtics had shown some interest. I think the Kings were another team, but I don't think the Kings are going to happen at this point. So we might be in a world where Ben Simmons isn't playing basketball. Russell Westbrook might not be playing basketball. So it's kind of a changing of a goal. I'm not going to include Ben Simmons hey, Russell Westbrook, sir, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to put you in the same conversation as Ben Simmons. That was not fair. Not fair, not polite. All right, let's get into some actual Celtic stuff here. I don't know if you guys missed it. Namias Queta yesterday swolled up a little bit, got ejected from Eurobasket. However, Portugal got the win, and it was the first time in Portugal's history that they advanced to elimination round. So they got a big win over there. There was actually some really wild basketball yesterday. Joker lost. Serbia went down to Turkey as Sengun went nuts. But in this Portugal game, they beat Estonia 68-65. Let me just hit you with the Queta stats before he got ejected. I got to tell you, man, Queta's feel around the rim. This whole Eurobasket run has just been me getting a little bit more excited about the Portuguese prince that was promised to Namias Queta. I was only able to play 22 minutes before getting tossed. Ready for this? 15 points, 3 boards, 5 for 8 shooting, still 0 for 1 from 3. Did we get any blocks or steals? We get a steal? No blocks? do they not keep track of blocks here? Maybe they call it something else. Maybe they call it blocks. Anyways, shout out Queta, who's really been progressing here in Europe, and hopefully this continues because, man, it's got me excited. It's got me excited about the potential here of Namias as the big guy, and really could just change our offseason a little bit too. All right, the other thing here, there was just a little report here by Ball Don't Stop here at the Hoop Herald. I know this has been reported before by Celtics Reporting, and it comes up almost every offseason, but this is why I have love for Payton Pritchard, and it will always be this. Like, one, in the offseason every year, he goes on this Pro-Am tour, just cooks people, does like a one-on-one tournament, just puts up like 60 points a game. He's nuts, but this is great. And again, this is from Hoop Herald. Payton Pritchard pays friends of his that are pros overseas to guard him in summer workouts, and he pays good money. He wants everything to be as game-like as possible, and then there's a video that goes along with it, and he was like, this is what hard work looks like. I just love, man, Payton is putting in the work each and every offseason. It's got him. Just got me hyped. It's got me excited about the potential of what this Payton Pritchard new season is going to look like. This is obviously his biggest opportunity as a pro. I don't think we've ever seen. He's ever seen as much playing time. Like last year, obviously, sixth man of the year, impressive numbers, great off the bench. But this time, whether he's starting or coming off the bench, either way, he's probably going to get even more run. I'm excited. I'm excited for our guy, Fast PP. All right, a couple things here, both some of your comments, and then we will get, we had one other NBA All-Star Weekend update, which I'm excited to share. But again, before we do that, let's get the subs up, baby. Hit the subscribe, get involved in the chat and the comments, hit the hype button, whatever the hell that is. All right, our guy, Shams Charania from ESPN. For the 45th straight year, they're going to adjust the All-Star Game weekend. I mean, come on, man. But anyways, here we go. This is it. The 2026 NBA All-Star Game format is likely to feature a round-robin tournament consisting of 3 8-player squads of 2 USA teams and 1 world team. NBA and Players Union presented the format to the competition committee on Wednesday, and the response was positive. So, I mean, like, listen, this is kind of like the Ryder Cup, I guess, for basketball in a weekend. I will say, as someone who has been fortunate enough to attend the last 3 All-Star Game weekends, when they switched the Rising Stars format to have these, like, multiple teams, it's actually way more fun to watch than what the All-Star Game's been. The All-Star Game turns into, like, Kevin Hart in a microphone, Mr. Beast doing weird-ass contests. Like, I promise you guys, we just want to watch basketball, man. That's what's cool about it. And we see the best players in the world play basketball. No one's there to be like, dude, what if you could use a T-shirt can to shoot a basketball? Like, nobody... Stop it. Just stop it. All right, let's get into some of your comments from yesterday. I appreciate everybody that's been active in the chat. Yesterday, we talked about the Clippers stuff. We had some Tatum ranks. So let me see. What did we have yesterday here? Dave's Not Here Man says, if the Clippers thing turns out to be true, then you can be sure they aren't the first and only team to do this. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier at the top of the show, but I agree. I mean, I have a feeling this is going to be the first of many dominoes, or Adam Silver sweeps this under the rug and we never talk about it again. Dan Simpson, 5056, says, in my book, we were ranking Tatum right now, says, in my book, Tatum is a solid 5. He's got a Jokic, SGA, Luka, and Giannis as the top 4. Tatum 5. So there you go. And then we talked about Josh Giddey yesterday, and Troubadour at Heart says, statistics taken from the last 20 games of the season are highly sus. Bad teams are tanking. Good teams are load managing their stars. Also, Giddey's defense is horrible. And yeah, I mentioned that in the Giddey combo. I agree, man. I'm not saying Giddey is freaking Alex Caruso, right? And I do also agree that small sample size, and I think I mentioned that in the video, like the last 20 games is tough. I will say, from the All-Star break on, Giddey put up big numbers. And again, I agree. Like, he's playing a lot of bad teams, especially in the Eastern Conference teams that are trying to lose. So I am curious to see like what this looks like for a full season, especially if he takes a Cam Thomas style deal. These guys are going to be trying their damnedest to have a nutso year because they want to get that big payday, right? So from a fantasy perspective, man, unless the Brooklyn Nets give him the full Lowry marketing treatment where they shut him down, but Cam Thomas on 1 year, $6 million, he's going to take so many shots on that team. But anyways, appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit the sub before you get out of here. We will be back tomorrow with some more sweet Celtics Daily channel or Celtics Daily content on the Celtics Daily channel with me, Mike Zakarian.